Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30. I'll go ahead and call today's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order. Our first item on the agenda today is an approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger to approve the agenda, a second from Commissioner Krabenoft. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Citizens to be heard today. Are there any individuals in the audience wishing to address the county board? Are there any individuals wishing to address the board on any item not on the agenda? Steve, have you had any online requests?
I have not, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Moving into the approval of the payment of bills and vouchers.
Move approval.
A motion offered from Commissioner Campbell to approve the payment of bills and vouchers.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ebinger. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Work group minutes from the June 9th, 2026 session.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the work session minutes from June 9th.
Okay, we have a motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger, a second from Commissioner Krabenoft. Any further discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The item carries. Item 2 today is a request approval to replace 2 jail transport vehicles through Enterprise Fleet Leasing. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Thanks for having me here this morning. I am here this morning for a request to replace 2 vehicles that we currently use at the jail for medical appointments, or if inmate is transported over to Sanford or Essentia via ambulance, then our jail staff use those vehicles to bring that individual back. As you can see from what I have submitted, we do have total funds available of $161,116.99. And for the 60-month lease for both vehicles, it would be $98,352. And then an additional $4,994.42 to upfit those 2 vehicles with cages at Code 4 Services in Pelican Rapids. With that, I would yield for any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions for the sheriff on the request? Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, thanks. So, Sheriff, I know on your squad car vehicles, you're normally do 3 years.
Yes.
Right? And then is the 5 years because we don't put as many miles on them? Is that?
That's correct. Yeah, these vehicles won't be getting as many miles as our patrol units. Or I went with a 60-month lease on these. I even asked for a longer-term lease, whether it be 72 or 84 months. 60 months is the longest that Enterprise will go with their lease. We will reevaluate it at the 60-month point and then see if we just buy these outright or just re-up new leases with different vehicles.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Madam Chair, I move that, sure I have the numbers right. I move we approve the replacement of the current jail transport van and Ford Explorer with 2 Chrysler Pacifica transport vans to Enterprise Fleet Leasing at a cost of $819.60 per month. That's $1,639.20 total monthly lease obligation. As authorized Code 4 Services to authorize Code 4 Services to install the required prisoner transport partitions and related equipment at an estimated cost of $4,994.42.
Thank you. A motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger.
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Commissioner Campbell?
One other question. So that total 5-year lease, we're looking at 100 with the equipment that you're putting in there is roughly about 108,000, right? 103 plus
103,000 roughly, yeah.
plus the 4,994. Yeah. So, and you have 161 in the internal service fund.
Correct.
So, and that's been put aside for those 2 vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So have you talked to Lori about changing how much is gonna be going into that internal service fund for those two items moving forward?
However Lori does that, I know I send the fixed asset sheets to Stacy, and then Stacy, she'll enter them into the fixed assets, then Lori sends them. Lori does whatever Lori does to that.
Yeah.
I don't know what she does, and I don't know how she's,
I guess previously, these weren't leased vehicles, right?
Correct, they were
purchased
purchased.
vehicles, and so now that they're leased vehicles, the amount of the internal service contribution should probably go down. I guess, I
One would
don't know,
think, yep.
Steve, maybe
Yeah,
if you can.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Campbell, I know that's something that Lori Johnson evaluates. I know that one of the things that we've talked about, because of the increase of the squads and the fit-ups, she's made some adjustments, but it's also allowed to make that shift to some of the other vehicles.
Well, and I guess I don't, if there's reason for those dollars to be transferred, that's one thing, but I just don't want to see us putting the same amount of dollars into the internal service fund for these two vehicles the same as it was when we were purchasing them, because they're two different things.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Campbell, we've done that in all of the other areas where it's gone from a purchase to a lease, and so we'll make that adjustment.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Bear.
What's the plans with the other two vehicles that we do own outright?
the other two vehicles will be sold at auction as soon as the next auction comes up with McLaughlin engine.
All right.
Additional questions? Well, it does show that the internal service equation is doing what it needs to do, but I think because these don't have as much miles on them as some of the other ones, I think that's why we're seeing such a larger balance, is because it's one of the last ones to go back to into the lease piece. I know the relationship with Enterprise has been very cost beneficial for Clay County. Just want to make sure, there's other stories from other communities that it might not have worked in the best, but continue to keep that top of mind and make sure that we're evaluating that. From my standpoint, we've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for utilizing a relationship with them. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Sheriff. Item 3 before us is the request approval of the Public Health Emergency Preparedness All Hazards Plan. We have Sylvanus with us and our Public Health Director, Jessica Mickelson. Good morning to you both.
Morning. Okay, good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning to members of the boards of commissioners. So this our all hazard plan was developed at a regional level, but then it specifies to the risks of Clay County Public Health. So the priority or the intention of this plan is to protect residents of Clay County and also ensure essential services are coordinated during disaster, and also ensure an effective recovery plan after an emergency. So I'm just going to go into it shortly, and I'm here this morning to request your signature to approve our plan so that we can start training our staff and also activate this plan once there is an emergency. So the purpose of this plan is to provide framework to prepare for, respond to, and recover from public health emergency. So not only that, this plan will also define specific roles and responsibilities, send out timely notification, make significant decisions during an outbreak, and also coordinate among partners. And we work at the local level, we work with the state, we work with MDH, we work with community partners, because in an emergency, it is always good to know your partners first for an outbreak. There will not be an outbreak before you start to get to know people. So in Clay County, we have listed all of our emergency preparedness partners already, and we are working with them. Why this plan matters, like I said, this plan was developed to protect the lives of Clay County residents and also respond effectively to any public health emergencies. This plan will also develop to maintain essential services, and that we have our COOP plan, continuity of operation plan. Once there is an emergency, we know who to place at a specific area. And then build and coordinate with community partners, like the Red Cross, Churches United. We know all of those partners' capabilities. So once there is an emergency, we know what they are coming and what they are going to contribute to the response. To support recovery efforts as well and to build community resilience. And we are doing this, building community resilience. I go to the library last year, every quarter, to share emergency preparedness education to residents of Clay County. So on this page, last year, 2025, there was a risk assessment done by the County Emergency Management Director. And as you can see, tornado is on the top in the list. And then we have cyber attack, we have active shooter. So all of these emergency, this plan covers every one of them. It was not developed only respond to one emergency. This plan, once it is activated, we can lead or support whatever outbreak that is in Clay County. So these are the listing of the top 5.
Sylvanus, can I just ask a question? Can you go into presentation mode?
Okay.
Thinking for the people online.
Correct. For the people online, but I also cannot.
Right.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
That's,
Wonderful. That's better.
Okay, so, sorry. So, and at the bottom of it is wildfire. So this, like for public health, we do our risk assessment after every 5 years, and I think that is the same thing for the county. So this was done 2025, so we're gonna do this again in the future to know what are the targeted risks in Clay County so we can prepare to respond to these risks. And how the plan works. So our all hazard plan, we are going to use this plan to prepare ourselves in developing plans. That's the first one. We have lots of plans that we need to develop. MDH has requested us to do that. We have some plans after this one. I know that we're going to come back here again because we have the COOP plan to update. We have the finance and administrative budget plan to do as well. So development of plans is one of our top responsibility of this all hazard plan to ensure that all of our staff understand the incident command system. And that's why once we hire a new staff, they go through some of the FEMA RCS courses, such as RCS 100, 200, and 700. And then it is a continuous process. We train our staff continuously on the incident command system. And then also to activate our department operations center. So once there is an emergency, we will firstly activate our department operations center in our office and then work closely with the county emergency operations center as well. And then ensure staff readiness. So that is one thing that we concentrate on, ensure all of our staff are ready to respond to emergency, because we don't want, when an emergency happens and we ask this person to do this, and like, we don't have the required training for that. So we ensure all of our staff are trained to respond to emergency. And then coordinate with county emergency operations center. So while we are going to be running our department operations center, we also have representatives at the county EOC to work closely with them and give update on what is happening at public health. And then to scale the response based on the size and the complexity of the incident. So we have our incident command structure in public health. And once there is an emergency, our incident commander will activate those positions based on the complexity and the scale of the incident. So we are not just going to maybe activate all of the roles at once. Once it is a minor incident, we are going to activate based on the nature of the emergency. And this is our notification table. So this table tells us when to respond, how to respond. So, and we make it simple by placing it into colors. So once it is in white, so it's business as usual. We're not going to respond. Once there is an incident, it changes to yellow. But then for this color yellow, we will send people on the scene to verify the information. So we take action. We're not just going to activate all of our incident command team members. We want to ensure that the information is verified before we can respond. And then with the orange, the emergency incident has occurred. We sent people on the field to verify the information, and it is truth. So we are getting all of our equipments and response materials ready. And once it reaches to red, we're going to activate our Department Operations Center and all hands on decks to start getting involved into the response process. So this is how it works. And then once we have response, we are going to demobilize at the end of the response and ensure everything goes well. Response priorities. So, like I mentioned, the first priority of this plan is to protect the health and safety of the residents of Clay County. And that is our biggest priority, ensuring everybody is safe and properties damage are reduced. This is what this plan was developed for. And also coordinate with healthcare partners and emergency stakeholders. So right now we have the contacts of all of the clinics in Clay County, all of the health practitioners, even those ones that are in Fargo as well. We are coordinating with all of them. We're working together. The emergency preparedness coordinator in Clay County, he comes here and we plan together as well because, like I said, we want to know all of our partners that are involved into emergency management because when Clay County has an emergency, we shouldn't be looking around. We should know exactly who to call upon to assist us. And then maintain essential health services when there is an outbreak. This is one important one because when there is an outbreak, people start to panic and everybody gets afraid. But we are going to make sure that who's supposed to respond are present to respond, and all of our services are running smoothly. So that is one thing this plan is going to concentrate on. And then send out timely messaging to our partners and other stakeholders. We have a system that we use called Everbridge, and we use this system to communicate with our emergency preparedness partners. We use that to communicate with even residents of Clay counties because we have contact numbers of the long-term health care. We have contact numbers of the corporate, those for the foster care. So all of those people that are in the vulnerable people, like we have all of their contact number for us to be able to respond to them timely. And we also built relationship with other organizations in Clay County from different backgrounds because those people, we feel that they are one of the people that will need help during an emergency because some people don't read or speak English. So these people are in our plan as well. We have their leaders who have this notification printed up and then give it to their leaders to interpret it to them in whatever languages or dialect that they speak, especially, for example, the Somalis. So we're working with some head of the Somali organizations to communicate with them because emergency messaging is all about trust. If they don't believe in your message, they ignore everything you tell them. So that's why we try to work with the top of the various organizations. So these are some of the organizations that we are working with at Clay County Public Health. The American Red Cross, they provide shelter training for us on a routine basis, sometime after every 6 months, sometime on a quarterly basis. Minnesota Department of Health. We receive HANS messaging for them, Health Alert Network, Moorhead Fire Department, the Healthcare Coalition. They help to provide trainings, the long-term health facilities, schools and universities. So sometimes I go after some of these colleges and present on emergency preparedness information to the students, the nursing students. And then hospitals, EMS, community organizations, and the Minnesota Response. This is one of our key areas that we are concentrating on as well, Minnesota Response. So we have like 86 active volunteers in Clay County. And once there is an emergency, we're going to activate these volunteers and place them in roles that they can perform. And they're going to receive just-in-time training before they can perform these roles, because we don't want to place volunteers in positions that they are unable to perform. And then this is just the holistic overview of our emergency preparedness department, what we are doing. So one of our key concentration that been kind of taking out of my time was our storage facility. We had all of our assets like very disorganized, so we were able to go there, I think 2 weeks ago, and organize all of our assets, and we are now tracking them in the system that we are using, the Salamana Life, and then ensuring what we have, because if you don't know what you have, when an emergency happens, you're not going to respond. So now we are tracking what we have. So once we have an issue, we are going to know what capability we have and how can we respond. And then we have emergency go bags that we have for hand sanitizer and all of some emergency preparedness materials. We put it in those bags and we distribute it to the long-term health care facilities. We distribute them to some vulnerable populations where at the fair, I think it was Friday, right? We carried some and then we distributed them so to people. We had it on our table. So it's just to keep informing our residents about emergency preparedness so they can be prepared, because once people are prepared, the impact of the disaster will not be very massive on the population. At least people will know exactly what to do and not be panicking during the emergency preparedness or the disaster process. And then continuous training. So for training is one of our big things. We are always training staff to be ready. We did a series of training since the beginning of the year to now. We did our point of dispensing training, we did incident command training, and so much more. And we just wrote our new grant for budget period 3, and there are lots and lots of trainings that we need to do. So we're gonna go through them, and I know we're gonna come back here again. Perhaps we need out-of-state travel for your kind approval again, because emergency preparedness, like I said, is continuous training and getting ready for whatever emergency. We don't pray for emergency to happen in Clay County, but we are going to be prepared like always. Mm-hmm. And then
Commissioner Krabanoff does have a question. If
yes, sir.
So, toward the training, I'm curious, how do you do that? I mean, do you do it as excuse me, one type of emergency, so you have the whole team come together at one time, so
Yes.
you're hearing the same message, or is it or is it piece by piece?
Yeah, so we do it piece by piece. So firstly, we do the point of dispensing training, and we target few staff, like the nurses. Once we open a point of dispensing, the nurses are going to be many at the point of dispensing site. So we target all of our nurses to be at that training. For the incident command training, we target our incident command team members. So it just piece by piece, and then we did risk communication training as well, and we targeted our PRO, our public information officers, and other staff members. So we target specific staff to respond to attend certain trainings.
And then for people along that line of that type of emergency, say it's tornado, yeah, okay, then do you somehow you have a relationship building between the people, person to person, or do you understand what I mean? I'm
Yes.
just saying, so they know who they're gonna be working with.
Yes, so we build relationship, and we even cross-train all of our staff. So that's one big thing we do for our incident command team members. I'm the planning section chief, but then we train another person, just like in my absence, somebody should be able to effectively function in my role.
Yeah.
So all of our staff know how to function in another capacity once another person is outside. Yeah,
Thank
so we
you.
cross-train staff.
Yeah.
Additional questions? Continue. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ebinger. I apologize.
Yeah, this is a little off target here, but I think it's a good question to know up front if you guys have the information. So much of this response, which is what we have here, is predicated on the after effects that we've seen of emergencies in our community, and that involves reimbursement and support from FEMA. So the ICS, everything else, I've gotten it in FEMA trainings. And that goes through MDH and state agencies. Is that partnership, is that function still working? And is it predictable that we're doing the right things up here that'll be required of us to seek reimbursement and rebuild and to get additional things post-incident? It's kind of vague, but I think it's going to be important to the commission when we're walking in after an event like we've had with floods to know we've got that federal support. And I am seeing in the media that the federal support's not as predictable as it used to be. Are we looking at issues that may impact us on that?
Yes. So to answer that, yes, we have the capability to fill out all of the FEMA forms because we are aware of that. Once there is an emergency, we have to submit for reimbursement. In our ICS training, we discuss that, and we have all of the forms, and we are training staff to know exactly how to fill in those forms. Form 204, 211, and all of those forms, we know how to fill in them for appropriate reimbursement to FEMA.
Okay, and any indication from the state that there's any problems to be anticipated?
No, because all of our work we do here, we relate them to the state. So the state has to kind of like evaluate everything that we do. So once we do a training, we send the report, the ARP to the state for review, and then they give us feedback on what we have done as to whether we are doing it right or doing it wrong. So they kind of supervise everything that we are doing. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And then lastly, any other question?
No, I was just making sure. We're good.
Lastly, we preparing our emergency kit. So this is one thing that we inform our staff about consistently. Like once us as staff members, when we are not prepared, we cannot respond to emergency preparedness. So we encourage our staff to develop their home emergency preparedness plan, and then develop their emergency preparedness kit for they and their family members. And with that, we go out there teaching other people how to prepare as well. So our priorities is to be ready, stay informed, build a kit, and make a plan. And our emergency preparedness program are grant funded. So we just roll out our next fiscal year that starts July 1st to June 30th, and that is budget period 3. And then we also have our Response Sustainability Grant and CRR, City Readiness Initiative. So we have 3 programs ongoing right now. And lastly, if there is an emergency, we want to make sure that our demobilization process is effective. So staff are also trained on how to demobilize our emergency response site. If we have a point of dispensing or a shelter site established, we should know how to bring everything back to normal, and then track all of our assets making sure we can carry them back to our storage facility, and then we do a comprehensive report with an after-action plan, and this report will indicate what went wrong, what went right, and improvement plan, like what we need to improve on. So these are things that we're taking into consideration. And then all of our plans, they are living documents, so we have to review them annually so that they can be sitting on our shelf and we wouldn't want to run to them during an emergency. We try to practice the plans, train on these plans, and update them so that we know how they worked. So with that, thank you so much for giving me the time to be here, and I wait for any additional questions.
Thank you, Sylvanus. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to thank Sylvanus and the team that went out to the storage unit a couple of weeks ago and really assisted us with getting that cleaned up, organized, all of our assets tracked in Salamander Live. I thought this was a project that was going to take us weeks to get done, and the group that went out there got it done in a day. So it was really impressive to see how quickly they were able to move through everything. So, and Sylvanus is just very passionate about this work, as you can tell, and he's a good motivator to our entire team in public health to keep us up to date on all of our trainings and to keep plugging away at that ICS. We know it's not always the most entertaining trainings in the world for those who have done it. It's pretty dry, but he makes sure everyone gets it completed. So thank you, Sylvanus.
Thank you, Joyce.
Well, I just want to say also thank you for the presentation, but more importantly, the work. You named it when you said a disaster is not the time to start asking questions of who to contact. And so to have a really clear plan articulated as how will be able to be prepared, and preparation is key, correct? So huge gratitude for connecting all of those dots and the work that you do to make sure the plan was ready. Questions from the board? Commissioner Ebinger?
Madam Chair, just, I want to make the motion to approve the implementation of the Clay County Public Health All Hazards Plan and move forward with obtaining necessary signatures.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger
I'll second.
and a second from Commissioner Krabanoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica, you have our next item. A request approval to contract with Medica to provide special needs basic care coordination services.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. As you are aware, we were notified last year that UCare would no longer be contracting with the Department of Human Services in Minnesota to provide managed care services throughout the state. Throughout the past year, there's been a lot of unknowns as to how this was going to look. A lot of this contributed to the redistribution of the SMBC program fully to public health and moving MinChoice's, the initial assessment and community first services to social services. So this was kind of part of that reasoning behind why we made those decisions to request those transitions. But essentially, Clay County currently provides care coordination services for members enrolled in special needs basic care, more commonly referred to as SMBC, which is a Minnesota managed care program for people with disability ages 18 to 64 who are eligible for medical assistance. UCare and Medica have entered into an agreement in which Medica will acquire certain UCare contracts and assets in 2026, which has been approved by both the Department of Human Services and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. As part of this transition, we will need to enter into a new SMBC case management participation agreement with Medica effective October 1st, 2026. Initially, we were thinking that this was going to be at the end of the year and beginning January 1st of 2027, but we were notified about 4 weeks ago that the contract with UCare is ending earlier than anticipated. The scope of work for Clay County Public Health will remain generally consistent with current SMBC care coordination practices, which includes completing health risk assessments, care planning, completing referrals for participants, coordination with providers, and ongoing member support. The Medica agreement requires Clay County to comply with Medica and DHS SMBC requirements. So really a lot of that day-to-day work is not going to change with the contract changing from UCare to Medica. The most significant operational change is that we'll no longer be responsible for providing ongoing care coordination to unengaged SMBC members. So really there's two types of members, those that are engaged, which means that they've agreed to care coordination, they've completed a health risk assessment, and they meet with their care coordinator on a regular basis. An unengaged member is someone who has declined those services for whatever reason, and obviously it's the individual's choice if they accept care coordination or not. Under the UCare contract, we still provided care coordination to all almost 1,000 members, whether or not the person really accepted it. So it just, the level of involvement that we had with the person differed, whether they were considered engaged or unengaged. So under Medica, we will only be providing care coordination to engaged members, so people who have chosen to accept care coordination, completed their assessments and whatnot. So currently under UCare, we receive $185 per member per month for engaged members and $25 per member per month for unengaged members. Under the Medica agreement, reimbursement is dropping to $135 and solely for engaged members. While this obviously represents a reduction of $50 per member per month, it also reduces our caseload sizes from approximately 210 members per care coordinator currently to approximately 73 members per care coordinator. Although the agreement results in lower reimbursement rates, it also creates a more manageable care coordination model by eliminating responsibility for approximately 761 unengaged members. Entering into the Medica agreement allows us to continue providing local care coordination services during the during the health plan transition while maintaining continuity of care for this vulnerable population.
Commissioner Ebinger has a question.
Yeah, Jessica, could this result in more people wanting to be engaged?
That's our goal, Commissioner Ebinger. I think Susie and I have, this falls under Susie Rednick's department. Her and I have spoke at length about ways that we can do better with outreach to try to get members engaged. It's really a service that's to their benefit when they have either a nurse or a social worker providing the service to them at a local level. Someone who's very familiar with the health options available through the health plan at a local level and to help coordinate services. So it's really to the members' benefit. But I think previously with the caseloads being as large as they were, the care coordinators didn't have time to focus as much on outreach. And so our goal with this transition is that we would potentially look at restructuring some things so that outreach could be more of a primary focus.
What would these people have to do? Is there a timeline where they'd have to declare they want to be engaged?
Yes, yep. So upon enrollment and then annually thereafter, we will reach out to them. We do make several attempts to reach the member. If we're not able to reach them, obviously they would fall under the unengaged category. If we are able to reach them, the care coordinators explain the services, what it would look like, and then some individuals may have a CADI case manager or a Rule 79 case manager already, so they don't feel that there's a need for the duplicate. But the unique thing about care coordination versus case management is this is really more medically focused. It's an expert with your health plan to help you navigate kind of the health services available to the person, so.
So, and we're staffed at a level that would be able to meet any increase in that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We are staffed currently at a level that could meet any increase of expectation to our employees.
Well, with this reduction, so I mean, really the caseload is dropping by 2/3. So the staff will be able to pretty much automatically absorb that additional outreach work because they're not going to have as large of a caseload beginning 10/1.
Okay, thank you.
And just to go off that, and I think you're getting to that point, but the revenues will continue to exceed the personnel costs, correct?
Yes, yep, and I do have that down here that I'll kind of detail more specifically, but. So currently we have 292 engaged SMBC members, 761 unengaged members. At Medica's negotiated rate of $135, the current engaged membership is expected to generate approximately $39,420 per month or $473,040 annually. This represents an annual revenue reduction of approximately $403,500 compared to the revenue we were receiving under UCare. During contract negotiations, however, and I just want to comment, initially Medica offered us $115 per member per month. That is their typical rate that they offer throughout the state, but we were able to get that increase to $135. And then throughout those negotiations, they also agreed to increase their rates for the two other health plans that we're currently contracted with already to provide care coordination services through Medica for Minnesota Senior Health Options and Minnesota Senior Care Plus. So MSHO is probably a term you've heard of, and then MSC Plus. So MSHO is for Medicaid, medical assistance eligible seniors who are also receiving Medicare. MSC Plus is for 65 and plus who have a separate Medicare plan. So when the financial impact of all three programs is considered collectively, we're looking at a reduction of revenue of approximately $299,892. So the projected 2027 salary and fringe costs for the care coordination team is $439,000. Based on current enrollment negotiated rates, our projected annual revenue is $473,000, which continues to exceed personnel costs by $33,987. So just covering our costs. And with that, I'll yield to any questions.
Commissioner Krabanoff?
Kind of may not even apply, but I want to ask. So when there's open enrollment, I'm taking the seniors now, Medicare and whatnot, do the providers out there know these programs, and it's always part of that discussion?
Yep, so every health plan or managed care plan in the state goes through a procurement process with DHS. We are entering into a new procurement year in 2027 where there may be new health plan options in Clay County. So that process happens every 5 to 6 years. So we're anticipating it occurring again in 2027. So new health plan options may be available. So we go through, it's kind of like an RFP process where each health plan submits their proposals to DHS for where they want to contract with. So the health plan gets to determine what counties in Minnesota they're going to be working in. A lot of times it's kind of based off historical practices, just based off which healthcare organizations they're contracted with. But so that's kind of the initial process with how it works. So that determines what health plans are available. And then, all of the services that would be referring people. So senior linkage line are obviously our income maintenance unit. They are all well familiar with what health plans are available. And then they do their best to kind of educate the recipient.
So obviously, they're the beginning,
Yes,
so hopefully that helps the engagement,
yes,
outreach.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
the member could still be receiving SMBC through Medica, but decline care coordination. So that's why it's really up to
Why
our
would they?
team to.
Why would they decline?
A lot of times it's because we can't reach the member to explain the benefits of it. I'd say that's probably half the time why we aren't able to get a member to engage. And then another big reason, I think, is people already have so many providers that they're working with that they feel that it's overwhelming and that they don't have a need. Or it may be the person's needs are being met, in a more informal basis, so they don't feel that it's necessary. So, there could be a wide range.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Additional questions? Well, it's very clear that this is quite a complex system, and I am amazed at your ability to educate yourself in your new role. It seems like you've really done a great job to not only, one, advocate for Clay County, which you have in regards to the negotiation of the rate, but just figure out this very, very complex system. I support this request. I support the work clearly because there are revenues to cover. I think internally, as we figure out with reduced caseloads, and we've got areas where we're seeing really high caseloads, how do we manage that in the best possible way? That's managerial, and I we'll work together to figure that piece out. But these are areas where you can see really big cost swings either side, and so thanks for continuing to keep Steve in the loop, who in turn keeps us in the loop.
Madam Chair, I would move Clay County Public Health enter into a contract with Medica to provide SNBC care coordination services effective October 1st, 2026 at a reimbursement rate of $135 per member per month.
Thank you. A motion offered from Commissioner Campbell.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you, Jessica.
Madam Chair, if I could,
Yeah,
just in
Mr.
addition,
Larson.
since Jessica is here, I just wanted to extend not only thanks for the work that she did here, but also extended thanks to the revalidation process that she also got to learn a great deal about for Medicare. Our application had not been resubmitted for revalidation. Jessica and her staff went in and got that done, and not only did they get that done, they were able to go back to fill the gap and received approval through an additional process so that Clay County was able to get the reimbursements. So,
And I think it's important for the public to know what that amount was. It's substantial.
do you know?
I think it's around 16,000 was what we were expecting to write off.
Yep, thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is a budget presentation. We have the Recorder's Office, Kimberly Savageau, our county recorder. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today to present my 2027 budget to you.
And we do have that on the tables.
Okay. I have no new requests for you this year, and I'll start with covering my revenues at the top of the page. That first line there, that's our recording fees. It's kind of hard to know and guesstimate where that's going to be, so I just kind of kept that same based on some of the research that I was able to do. Same with that second line, that is the revenue from my software program for our online services. That third line is the tech fund. That is an in and out. So you'll see a revenue of $95,000 there, but you'll see an expense at the bottom for $95,000. That is a fund specific to the recorder's office that we use for technology expenses. So on my budget, it shows as an in and out because it's a fund that keeps growing a balance throughout time. That fourth line is my compliance fund. I was here earlier this year to present that to you, and we have $105,000 allocated out of the compliance fund to use for 2027. That next line, I do show a little bit of a decrease there. That is the county portion of the vital record fees that we receive. Over the past few years, we have seen an increase in customers' needs for documents for Real ID, and I just feel that's kind of slowing down, so I lowered that revenue just a little bit to compensate for that. Interest revenue, I lowered that too, just kind of based off what I've been seeing from this year. And then plat book sales, those are kind of stay flat. And then that last line there, that is just an in and out where I deposit my daily funds with the auditor's office, so that really isn't a revenue line. Any questions on the revenue
Yes, Steve.
portion?
Madam Chair, Jessica, Kimberly, could you maybe provide just the board an update and our citizens an update of your fund that you utilize that also has an impact on the levy?
Yeah, so the technology fund, I kind of went over and made some notes anticipating a question about that today. So the technology fund is separate from the compliance fund. There's $10 from every document that goes into that fund in order to advance technology services for the recorder's office and other land record departments. We had been for several years trying to grow a balance in there so that we could do a large scanning project. Remember during COVID, I was able to use some of those, believe it was ARPA funds to cover some of that. So now we've been able to use that technology fund to cover more of our annual needs for the different land record departments. One of the things I do is Rory has an almost $19,000 bill for our countywide imaging software program, and my office pays the bill for that because we use that for land records. And so that would become part of Rory's budget if it didn't come out of this technology fund. I use that for various different recorder's office softwares that I have. That probably totals up to just under $30,000 annually that comes out of that fund. Also, there's hosting that I pay for my real estate records. If I didn't pay to have my technology services vendor host them, we would have to have a server here on site that Rory would need to purchase and maintain, so we save money there. And then I also use $15,000 for technology services and $15,000 for GIS for our portion of what we use their services for. We use our GIS and land records all the time and different services that Rory's department offers. And then I also do, the last couple of years, have purchased hours for the assessor's office software maintenance out of there too. So we are spending probably about $100,000 in various things for other land record departments out of that fund that would not be in their budget. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions on the revenue?
Not looking like it.
Okay. Moving on to that bottom part there is my expenses. Those first 8 lines are really all just in cost of employees. I just wanted to bring up, I know since some of you have been here a while, but some of you are newer too. I started in the recorder's office back in 2003. At that time, we had 6.5 employees and a roster employee. Today in 2026, we have 4 full-time employees. Technology has advanced what we do in our office tremendously, and with that, we have been able to downsize the number of employees in our office. Which our employees is my biggest expense for the recorder's office. I'm going down on that. The next line is for telephone. I just reduced that a little bit based on what I've been seeing coming out of my budget. Printing and publishing, I kept that the same. I do have an increase in my association dues and memberships. I am going to see an increase in my MACO dues. There hasn't been one in 20 years, and so I have that increased about $180 for that. I do have a decrease in my professional services. And then skipping down, you'll see that technology fund. Oh, sorry, skip to where I just saw percentage increases. All those other line items I've just kind of kept flat and kept the same. There you'll see that technology fund, that 95,000 with that 11.76%. That's just that in and out. And then that bottom line there is computer software. That's our licensing cost for the sale of our online real estate records. Any questions on any of those expenses?
Any questions? No? Commissioner Ebinger?
Not a question. I've just been able to work with Kimberly on the, basically a lot of things, but the technology fund every year is part of my portfolio. And her department is run in an immaculate fashion. If there's technology that needs to be brought forward or innovation that needs to be implemented, since I've gotten here, I've seen leaps and bounds under her leadership, and she does a great job, and I appreciate it. And it's going to embarrass her, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your mother would expect me to say it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, I know that I've heard that you're doing some phenomenal work, but not only in Clay County, but statewide. You've really been a part of some huge statewide initiatives. And that leadership is really something we're grateful for, but it continues to show that Clay County is leading the conversation on dealing with some of the challenging components that we are, and how do we do so in a cost-beneficial manner. So just, I know that takes additional workload, and appreciate that you're doing that to bring us so far forward.
Thank you.
Questions? Not? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Was Highway here?
Of course he's here.
Justin, I feel like you want us to play like a walkout song, because it's always like, is Highway here? And then the door opens. Commissioner Campbell just stepped out for a brief moment, but yeah, we can proceed with your presentation. We have Justin Sorum, our county engineer, and Ann, the boss, if I may. We've got 4 pages of budget.
Yes, so good morning. I'm here presenting my 2027 Highway Department budget.
Got it.
As always, it's kind of broken into 4 main sections. So it is 310 maintenance, 320 construction, 330 administration, and 340 shop. First, we'll go to 310 maintenance revenues. So a lot of the revenues on the maintenance side are estimated using trends from state aid. So it's just the maintenance money that we get from the state. And then town road, if you'll notice, it is up slightly. So last year was down a little bit. That's due to the TAA account, which is the Transportation Advancement Account. And that's the retail delivery fee that was set in statute a few years ago. It was being delivered to the townships and to the counties, and it was tracking a little bit lighter than they anticipated, so they just held off for a year. So they're just receiving the payment the year after. Okay. So the townships should receive a little bit more money because of this. And then 10-310, 5409 is township maintenance contract, and obviously, as I have shared, we are one less township this year, although the maintenance contract did go up. So 2026 budget was $812,000, proposed in 2027 is $815,000. Any questions on the revenue side of things on maintenance?
Kavanaugh?
Yeah, so is the one less because they're going to do their own, or?
Yep, they contracted with a different outfit or individual.
Okay.
Expenditures, so 10-310-6107, salaries overtime, So we did go up a little bit on this. We haven't been spending what we've been budgeting, but we also have had very mild winters in the last handful of years. I'm hoping that trend continues. And then salaries other, you'll notice that doubled, so that's due to the union contract. So on-call pay went from just under $30 to just over $50 with the new union contract. And then 10-3-10, 6277, so that's training, so we did keep that flat at 15,000. So that is our CDL policy. We've used it 6 times, gonna be 7 with a new hire that started yesterday. I think the 6, it's been working really, really well. It's been a big benefit to our department, and we've had really, really good luck with it, so I appreciate that policy very much. Thank you.
I just want to talk to that really briefly. You know, I know internally we tried to figure out what we could do to kind of utilize funds to recruit, and having CDLs be such a cost barrier for some people. I'm really glad to see that that it's been working out, and given the numbers that you're using or that are using it, I will continue to support that.
And part of that policy as well is if, say, solid waste needs a driver with it.
Right.
And we have actually done that a couple times. We've loaned Corey a driver for a few days just to keep up on hauling materials. And then we've done a little bit of heavy hauling for solid waste as well. Like when their dozer broke down, we hauled it to get it fixed so they didn't have to pay a company to come do it. 10-3-10, 64-54 uniforms. So that is up. So in the union contract as well, boots went from being every other year to every year, and then the cost of the reimbursement also went up. I think this was a good thing. I mean, if you see the guy's boots after patching, I think 2 years is your boots are shot. So I think it's been a good thing, and guys really like it. And then 10-3-10, 6502 road materials. So this covers basically everything from gravel, mastic, patch mix. So I did increase it 100,000 just to, obviously gravel's going up. We don't know what gravel's gonna be next year, so just trying to account for it. And then 10-3-10, 6509 traffic supplies is up 5,000. So if you remember during my department update, I kind of touched on that the new county signs are the blue ones from the white ones. So those are more expensive, so it's just trying to replace as much as we can while not increasing it significantly.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Bear?
and that's dictated by the state. We're not making that change on the state's telling us to make that change.
Yep, so we follow the Minnesota manual on uniform traffic control devices, or the MUT manual, so we have to follow that.
And we're changing those out as
They're, yep, no longer reflective, yep. So we're not blanketly replacing them, we're replacing them as they go out.
Yeah.
But it's not like it has to be instantly, we just have to be in compliance eventually.
Yep.
And then 10-3-10, 6807 intergovernmental payments. So one thing I did want to touch on is this is the last year of the 12th Avenue South turnback, and that annual payment is $58,615.25. So in 2028, that will come off.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Any questions on the maintenance side?
I just wanted to maybe go back to weed and brush control. I see that we're not utilizing all of it, but as I drive, I'm also seeing that there are weeds that continue to exist. Have we had internal conversation about utilizing all that is allotted, or we just have a core left over in case something big happens?
A little bit of both. So each spring, myself, so I go over to Soil and Water, kind of give them what our budget is, and then they kind of point out areas that they've been seeing all the noxious weeds and everything else. So they try to go as close to that number as they can. Sometimes we hit it, sometimes we don't. And then lately we've been reserving a little bit for spraying trees around bridge ends. So this year I'm gonna try to hit that number closer than we did last year.
I'm also, in coordination with the watershed too, I am noticing that there seems to be more shrubs in ditches around culverts than we've seen in a long time. And, You know, sometimes when it's been a while since we've had a flood, we forget how much of a nuisance that can be, so that might be something we want to hit harder. I don't know.
That is actually last year something that we did on 52. There's trees on a lot of those culverts by the railroad, so it's been something we've been trying to tackle.
Okay. All right. Additional questions on those items he highlighted? No, moving on to page 46.
Yes, so 10,320 is highway construction. So on the revenue side, we kind of estimate using both trends from state aid, and then this is heavily dictated by the 5-year plan. So next year is a giant construction year. So with the CSA 21, both, obviously we were planning the rehab of that road, and then all of a sudden, the bridge project that kind of got thrown in there as well. So 10,320, 5271 is accounting for what we expect to receive in bridge bonding for CSA 21. And then 5274 is regular construction. So CSA 21 is going to be a huge project for us. And then we're also planning the Glendon Township Bridge. I actually meet with Glendon Township tonight to go over some right-of-way stuff, and that's going to be a $2 million bridge, which for a town bridge project is huge.
Huge.
And then 10,320, 5320 federal grants, so that is CSA 3 from CSA 18 to 22. That's money that we received through MetroCog, kind of making us whole for the contribution that we gave for the 11th Street underpass on some money that we got back from FHWA. So it'll be a good project through Oakport. That's heard a few different things on it throughout the years.
Any questions on those? I mean, from anyone? Okay.
And I will say this one, obviously on the revenue side, it's up $4.5 million, but that's also taken care of in the expenditure side. So it's just heavily based on the 5-year plan and what we're doing for construction that year. On the expenditure side, so you'll notice the salaries is down. So this is due to, we had a long-term engineering technician that would have been on grade 18 at the top of his pay scale, take early retirement. So that position's been posted since roughly February. We haven't been able to fill it yet, but we are expecting it to be like a grade 16, step 1 or 2. And then 10,320, 6107 overtime. So we did go up $9,000 just strictly due to the amount of construction we have next year. We expect a lot out of our technicians when we're busy, so obviously that comes with a lot of overtime. And then 10,320, 6274 engineering consultant technical service. So we're up $50,000 there. So that's taking into account both the designs for the CSA 21 bridge, and then if you've seen in the newspaper lately, we were able to receive a grant with Polk and Norman County for $24 million that would replace the Georgetown Bridge. So I expect we'll be spending money on a structural engineer for that project next year. 10,320, 6454 boots. So engineering techs follow. We've historically always followed the union contracts, so they get a boot reimbursement every year. So that's just accounting for that. And then probably the biggest change in my budget would be 10,320, 6565 right-of-way. So we've talked about CSA 11 quite a bit over the past couple of years. So we are, next week I'll be bringing a contract for that project. And then this is just the amount of right-of-way that we're expecting between temporary easements and permanent highway easements, because obviously we're going to be widening the roadway. So this would be expected to be a one-time increase. Next year would be back down to the $10,000, just because hoping to take care of all of the right-of-way next year for 2028 construction. 10,320, 6604 is equipment over 500. So we are planning to replace some of our testing equipment that's in our engineering technician lab, just so we can do all of our own gradations on federal projects and such. The one that we have now is getting up there, and they're a little over $5,000 to replace. And then the final item of note is 10,320, 6631. So this was the last year we had 600,000, this year is 800,000. So that's as shown on the 5-year plan, that's striping and seal coating. That kind of took the place of the old Moorhead turnback payment. We took what we were spending and put it here. That being said, if there is one area to, obviously, the right-of-way is a major increase. If this is one area I could look to decrease if needed.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had an opportunity to meet with Justin yesterday and go over some of these things, and that's one of the areas with that 52 project, or 11, 11 project.
Yep, 11 for the right-of-way.
Needing all the additional right-of-way. We felt it would probably be maybe appropriate to keep that at 600 to help offset then the increased cost in that right-of-way that's going to be needed in 2027.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to change any in terms of the amount of miles you're going to be able to stripe, right?
Nope, so next year is actually, so every other year we have a highway safety improvement project, it's called, but we partner with a bunch of different counties in District 4, so it's money we receive from the federal government to stripe. So next year is a federal year, so there will be a lot of edge lines being done, not out of this. And
Okay.
so I don't think it's gonna have a detrimental effect, and I think we'll still be able to keep up on, I think last year was a great year in getting everything striped, and I don't think that would be a detriment.
Okay.
One question.
Commissioner Bear?
Do we have any seal coating projects on the docket for next year, or?
Any seal coating? Not at this time. Striping, yes.
Yep. All right.
Commissioner Campbell?
Can I just go back to the line item above that, the municipal construction, that's what's funded with the city wheelage tax, right? Is that, and that 163,000, is that for projects that have been submitted?
No, so that's tax collected, correct? Anticipated tax collected.
Well, that's not revenue, this is an expenditure.
That's the expenditure, so it's shown in a tax, and then also it's just an in and an out,
And?
correct?
It's an in and an out. It is shown as a revenue down in 805,
Be the last page.
fifth page of the budget.
Okay. Yeah, so, for example, with the exception of Moorhead, I'd asked Justin to provide this amount that we provide each city, and that number is 102,000. This excludes what we give to Moorhead. It's $102,794.
I do have it on
It's up on the screen there, and not all of that is actually requested and paid for in that given year, right?
This is separate from wheelage tax. This is money that's given out of our levy, correct?
Yes, and this will show this expenditure would be up in 310, 6807 intergovernmental payments. It's part of that number.
So
This is money so it's money they receive every year that when I bring that resolution in February, they just get a check for. They don't actually, wheelage, they have to submit some sort of estimate or invoice.
Yeah, well, this is confusing because on the expense side, it says city wheelage tax projects, and I was assuming then that's
above, that's a separate payment that the cities get other than this resolution. So the city wheelage tax projects, they need to request. The resolution, there's not, that's what goes out. There's not a request.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the cities get this component, and then when they're requested, that's what comes out of the wheelage tax line that we're talking about here.
Correct, and I do have just kind of a cumulative total of wheelage tax that's been collected since 2013. On the city side of things, it's been about $1.9 million collected and 1.6 that has been paid out so far. Then I do have detail for each city. I can send that to you if you would like it.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about yesterday, right,
Yes.
Commissioner?
Yeah.
That would be helpful. Commissioner Kravinoff? Your microphone.
Going back to the expense being on this first sheet, where do you say the revenues picked up for the tax?
For the wheelage tax?
Yeah.
The revenue is shown on, would be on the last page, page 49 here, under wheelage tax revenue. There's a county portion and a city.
Without turning there, what's that number?
The revenue for the cities is 163,238, and then our county portion is 380,888. Those are budget neutral items, because those same figures show as an expense
Yeah,
on this page.
okay, thank you.
I'm sure I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Bear?
The sheet that's on the screen right now, we have one of those for the townships as well, right? That we give them money, or no?
Not, so we give money to the townships based on the town road allotment. So
Yeah.
that's,
Dictated by the
that's
state?
part of the HUTDF fund that's gas tax driven.
Yes. So this comes out of property taxes that we give to each city.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Does that answer your question, Kevin?
Now I'm confused with what you just said there, because
We get gas tax allotment that gets broken down from the township to the city
Right.
to the county.
right,
This is on top of all that. This is property tax that we generate that we give to the cities with no strings attached other than to be used on road.
Yep.
We do not give a percentage of property tax to the townships at the same.
no.
No,
Yeah, but these are wheelage tax dollars.
No.
No.
no, that is not
Okay.
wheelage.
Okay, so I'm confused on this.
What's on the
and I-
screen is the same as in your hand.
Yep. If you want to go to the wheelage tax, you had that on there. Could you
Yep.
go to the wheelage tax?
Yeah, okay, I had asked for the wheelage, that's why I'm confused by this number here.
Yep, so this is not, it has nothing to do with wheelage tax collected. This
Okay,
is-
that's,
okay.
Property tax that we allocate to the cities.
okay.
Any questions on, any other questions on the construction side of things?
Not a question, just more a comment. You know, if you look back, the direction that this board has given you is to make sure we are taking care of and catching up on some of these road projects. Construction is obviously more expensive than it used to be, but if you look at the look back the last few years, we really are amping up the construction and making sure we're taking care of those roadways. And, you know, I'm really glad to see that, because that really is probably the calls that we get from a lot of people, making sure that those are being addressed, and this is a testament to that.
I'm sure I have one question on highway
Sure.
construction. On 6631, for what you had budgeted last year and what you have spent, well, what you budgeted last year and what you spent last year, that's a big difference there?
Yeah, so a lot of that is due to like federal pay requests and such that we haven't, so until I final out a project, it's not actually shown on
Shown
here,
on here.
so it will.
It'll equal up?
Yep.
It shows better in the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
When he has that document, it shows what county wheelage tax allocation would be applied for each, and so it gives a better outlook on how we're spending that, but again, based to how you close it out, it shows differently.
Yep, and depending on how like striping comes in or other projects
Yep.
come in, that's one that I kind of, once projects start to get finalized out and we see how they come in, then I can utilize that money.
Any additional questions on? Are you, oh, no. The permit application fees?
You ready for 3:30?
Can I ask a question on 6903?
Yes.
What's the, what are your trends you're seeing?
So the main driver in this is if we have to get a railroad permit or not. So railroad permits are the most expensive
Got
by
it.
far.
Don't even need to continue. Makes sense.
Yeah. And they also like to bill you to prepare your bill as well. So we get a bill prep fee.
Perfect. Page 47.
Yes, so this is administration. So this covers our office manager, admin assistant, assistant engineer, and highway accountant. On the revenue side, nothing really to note. 10-330, 5151 is moving and utility permits. And then 10-330, 5830 is joint facility admin fees that we collect from the state and the city of Moorhead. So on the expenditure side, so one thing, 10-330, 6202 postage. So we did increase this because with the CASA 11 project, we are planning on doing a couple different mailers to inform the public of the public meetings and landowners. 10-330, 6271 covers our cost accounting software, RT Vision, stuff that we use every day. 10-330, 6331 travel and expenses. So we did go up from 9,000 to 10,000. So this covers travel for both myself and the assistant engineer for such things as like the NACE conference that we've been attending annually that I think is a really good thing. And then also 10-330, 6333 conference registration has been going up slightly. So the conferences that we do go to, including Minnesota Transportation Conference and the NACE conference, have just gone up a little bit, so it's just covering the cost of that.
Do you include your AMC in that as well?
Yes, AMC comes out of there as well.
Thank you.
Any questions on the administration side?
Moving on.
Yeah, so 340 is shop, so the revenue that's shown, so that's any expenses that we incur or that we bill out for the joint facility. On the expenditure side, 10-340, 6109, so on-call pay similar to maintenance is up just due to the union contract. So our diesel mechanic does receive on-call pay, and we will put them on call if we have staff on call. 10-340, 6302 equipment repair and maintenance. So we did go up 25,000, just trying to capture what we have been spending. Obviously, it's really expensive to fix equipment. We've had a few transmissions go out and motor graders over the last few years, so hoping that we don't have to do any of those. 10-340, 6410 is fuel lubrication. So this covers all of our gas and diesel. Obviously, last year we did not spend. Gas prices were good, diesel prices were good, and we had a light winter. This is just trying to capture what, obviously seeing the trend in fuel prices, and if we do have a bad winter, just so we don't have a giant discrepancy in what we budgeted versus what we spend. And then 10-340, 6454 uniforms. So we do have a new uniform provider, and then boots as well, because the 2 employees in the shop do receive boots every year, and then we did switch our uniform provider to the same one that solid waste is using, so it's a little bit nicer, but a little bit more expensive. Any questions on shop or on budget in general?
One, Madam Chair, one question on shop. For fuel lubricants, do we bulk purchase any fuel? Like at any of our shops, do we have big fuel?
So we have, in Georgetown, we have a fuel barrel, or it's like a 500-gallon tank.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bulk.
No, and then at the landfill, we have the same thing. Other than that, we don't have a commercial fueling station.
Yep.
It's been a pretty heavy topic of discussion, I would say, at like District 4 meetings, and there is one county that's trying it and seeing how it plays out. From the environmental side, I know it gets expensive for what you have to do for containment if you have a big one.
Yep.
Right. Yep. I was gonna ask that question too. think about if there's anywhere we can find some savings with that, but again, with that environmental piece, what you have to come up with up front wipes out savings pretty quick.
Yep.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, I just want to go back and clarify something. I think I got it now, but when we met yesterday, I had asked to have a printout of the annual wheelage tax that we were providing to each. That is not what this is.
Nope.
But then when I read this, I thought I'm still a little bit confused on this. So what this is it's basically to cover these cities' costs for maintaining our county roads through their cities. Is that what this is?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay. So when I guess when I read it, I was a little bit confused because it says money spent on city streets. Whether we pay for the county streets within the city limits of these jurisdictions, right? Is that what this is?
So,
Why would, because according to this, it says money spent on city streets for 2025, and why do we pay for city streets?
so it's been a resolution that's been around long before my time. I feel like we've had the discussion a few different times, and I feel like every time we talk about it, there's not real clear reason why we're doing it.
Well, I know, for example, Justin, you just said yourself that the one agreement that we had with Moorhead was going to be coming off. So, for example, right now, Moorhead takes care of 11th Street through Moorhead. It's a county road. So they maintain it and everything. We pay them for doing that service. Is that what these items are for these other communities?
Don't know how to answer that question, I guess, because
My understanding with this has always been that, if we have our county routes that are running through the cities, if those cities happen to, plow some snow,
Maintain them.
Anything, that this payment was supposed to cover those costs.
Okay,
incidentally.
and that's what I was getting. So that's, if that's what this is for, I guess the only thing that I would maybe see that we could clarify the language and I probably voted for this resolution, I'm sure I did. But maybe the way that we could correct that language, for example, where we have resolution 2026-06, is reimbursement for cities for money spent on county roads within city. I think that might help explain things a little bit better in terms of why we're paying them for
yeah,
streets within the city.
we could look at adding that language to the resolution for next year.
I think it would just clean it up a little bit.
And I think it would be helpful to know how the equation comes about. How do we come up with the factors for each city?
Do we have them submit
No,
expenditures?
No.
that's
Okay.
different, but.
Lori calculates these numbers. I believe it's based on tax capacity, I want to say.
Well, I
It
think
is,
we've got some good questions that maybe we can dive deeper in at the highway tracking. I think you've heard some comments based on what we want to see the cities are getting on the wheelage tax. You can send that piece out, but maybe in regards to the equation, that might be a highway tracking item.
Well, I mean, this makes sense that we're paying them for
Agreed.
maintaining our streets within the cities. But I think it's how, it determines, well, how is that, what's the formula? Just like we have the formula for what we charge for annual maintenance for townships. There's a formula for that. This one, I don't know how we arrive at these numbers.
That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah. So, and that can be for, a highway tracking meeting moving forward to look into that a little bit more of it.
We have until February for the next resolution.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, I have to zoom it in because my eyes are.
I
Any
do
other?
have the formula somewhere in my email. I'm trying to find
Okay.
it, but
Right.
I can get it to
Talk
you.
about it at highway.
You
Traffic.
can, yeah. Okay, shall we? Are we on 49 or do we finish 49?
We're complete unless there's any other questions.
Going back to the change from 600 to 800,000 on that component, and knowing how much we would see with the right-of-way, you know, I think that might be an appropriate way to address that. You know, you've run a pretty lean operation in regards to all the different changes that we've seen, but I do appreciate you having flexibility in that. Questions for Justin? Direction? We'll continue to talk about it.
No, I think that makes sense.
Okay. And I know I talked a little bit about the construction piece, but the ability for your department to seek and receive grants lately is just astronomical. And I don't, you know, I want to highlight particularly the $24 million. That's an enormous amount of money, and specifically Clay County share. That's a very large allocation. So I know that takes time to apply for those, and I really am grateful for the work on that piece.
Appreciate it.
Any additional questions for Justin or Ann? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we are scheduled for a 5-minute break. We're 10 minutes behind, but we'll come back at 10:05. Back with our budget presentation for technology services. Good morning, Rory.
Morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Today I'll be, as you mentioned, running through our 2027 technology services budget. For next year, things are looking fairly well. So with even with the cost of living and being able to cut a few things and renegotiate a few things, we're looking at about a 0.54% increase overall. A lot of this, what you'll see on the spreadsheet is maybe recategorizing or moving around software items that maybe weren't in the software line item into the software line item. Just kind of wrapping up some loose ends there, getting everything accurate in accordance with our auditing for software subscriptions. A couple of notable areas that we saved a little bit of money on this year was we renegotiated our state of Minnesota internet bill. We were paying a little too much, so we worked it out where City of Moorhead and there's some other state entities and Moorhead Public Service also feed off that same internet connection, so they redistributed the percentages and recalculated those as well. So saved about $8,000 there for next year.
Is that under,
Commissioner Bear?
is that under other professional services?
That would come under other professional services. Yep. Next item, we've discontinued a file backup solution and actually reused part of this application enhancer solution, which myself and Kimberly from Recorders pays for. So that saved about $5,700 there. Earlier this year, we moved to an Aumentum tax hosting solution on their platform. So there was some one-time support fees and one-time startup fees that are no longer needed for next year's budget. Just a little bit of reduction in training budget. The data processing supplies, about $4,000 there. Out of that $60,000, $40,000 of that is our managed print services throughout the county. So every printer that we purchase goes through managed services, and just one big contract for all printers, and it actually saves us quite a bit of money. I think last time we looked, it was about $10,000 to $15,000 a year by going with this company. So it was a good move a few years back. And let's see, so equipment over 500, we reduced that about $25,000. We had been, strategically being able to utilize new purchases along with the internal services fund. So internal services, we marked that up $30,000 for next year just due to the cost of computer equipment with all the AI data centers and the big onboarding of that, it's just driving the memory and storage prices up. So that's to cover that over the couple hundred computers that we purchase every year. But yeah, overall, no new requests. Maybe I'll leave it to you all for questions.
Thanks, Rory. Can I ask why we have a gas and oil line?
I had been using gas and oil out of our travel and expenses, and now I'm starting to use our gas and oil line. So
Does it make sense to have it in a gas and oil line, or should it be in a travel and expenses line?
I suppose for auditors,
Yeah.
it's probably gas and oil.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioners, in talking with Lori, it is to pay for a van, an older van that they utilize to drive around between campuses, and so the auditor's office wished to have it in that line item.
So then, if I might, does it make sense to have that as a vehicle instead of a gas and oil?
Gas and oil is pretty consistent in what we have in all of our other budget lines.
All right. Questions from the board? Any questions? I feel like you were just before us talking about some of your bigger line item needs, and so certainly we're well aware of some of the challenges in the cost of the software. But any other questions?
So we're not looking at making any big software or antivirus purchases this year?
We were potentially looking at a big phone system upgrade for next year, but I think we're going to push that off till 2028.
Okay. All right. Well, to see a 0.54% increase, Rory, that's pretty phenomenal.
We're trying.
We really appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9 today is informational update on long-term services support and supports. This is not going to be a 0.354 increase, unfortunately.
Thank you, Madam Chair,
Thanks,
Commissioners. Yes, unfortunately, my subject is probably worse than Rory's entire budget. I come bearing bad news yet again. Thank you, Sarah, for putting this on there. I adjusted some of my notes, so I'm going to pull mine up here.
Well, that's coming up. I know that you've had lots of discussions with Steve as we are continuing to dial in where this gauge of shifts from St. Paul and DC are landing on for Clay County. Unfortunately, we're just finding out maybe how large these components are, but I do really want to say thank you for continuing to stay as active and up to date and trying to dial that in. While it's disappointing because they're high numbers, we do appreciate that you're active in that.
I look forward to the day I bring good news instead of bad news, but thank you for that, Madam Chair. So today I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention about another county cost share that's coming. This is a high-level overview, so if you have questions at any point, just feel free to jump in. Let me know. It can be dense. I tried to keep it kind of higher level. So to kind of set the stage, historically, the cost of Medicaid-funded residential services has been shared between the state and federal government. Counties have always played an important role in administering the programs. We determine their eligibility, we complete the assessments, and we coordinate the services, but we have not been responsible for paying for any part of the actual residential service costs themselves. With this change for us, that would mean a portion of what has historically been a state and federal Medicaid obligation would instead become a local property tax responsibility. This is set to begin July 1, 2027, if nothing changes legislatively before then. My goal today is to explain where this cost shift came from, what services it applies to, why social service agencies across the state are concerned about it, and then what the financial impact is so we can complete our 2027 budget process.
Commissioner Krabanoff?
So I think maybe you told me once, is it like 50% or what percentage or all of it? Or?
No, and I'll get into the history of it a little bit too.
Right.
Maybe can I pause and, okay, thank you. So I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about what services we're talking about. It's not every MA service. It's not every long-term care service. It's only 4 specific types of services. The first one is community residential services, or CRSs. Those are traditionally licensed group homes where individuals receive 24-hour supervision and support. Oftentimes this is 1-to-1 staffing or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 staffing, depending on that specific person's needs. The second setting is integrated community supports, or ICSs. These are more apartment-style living arrangements that still provide 24-hour oversight, but allow individuals to live more independently within the community. The third setting is customized living. These are most commonly provided in assisted living settings, where people receive individualized assistance with daily living activities like medication, meals, personal care, housekeeping. These are facilities with multiple beds, so like a farmstead, Lilac Homes, Arbor Park. And the fourth one is family residential services. They changed the acronym. Think of this as adult foster care. So these are providers in a licensed family home where an individual lives with a caregiver who provides that ongoing residential support in the home. So across these 4 service types, we're talking about some of our county's most vulnerable residents. Individuals with developmental disabilities, traumatic brain injuries, physical disabilities, or others with pretty significant long-term support needs who require these residential services to safely live within our community. This really isn't a question about whether these services are valuable. They totally and completely are. The question now is about who pays for them. So hopefully, Commissioner Krabenoff, this can maybe provide a little context here. So this is kind of the history of how we got here. During the 2025 legislative session, the governor and the state legislature was responding to a rapid growth in LTSS spending, particularly in this disability waiver residential services area. Rather than immediately shift those costs to the counties, the legislature created a contingent county cost share scheduled to begin July 1st, 2027. At that time, it was thought to be a 5% cost share. At the same time, the legislature created the LTSS Advisory Council to develop recommendations to reduce the LTSS spending by $177.5 million over the 27-28 biennium. The challenge on this is timing. So any recommendations from the LTSS Advisory Council, and there are many, are also going to require legislative approval and then federal CMS approval before we can actually implement them. So the concern for counties is that those steps are not going to happen before the cost share is scheduled to begin. So even though that work is happening to bend that LTSS cost curve down, counties still have to make the decision to plan for the possibility that this cost shift is going to take effect July 1 of 2027.
I think part of the other concern that I have, if I might, January 1st, my understanding is there was anywhere up to 6.5% increases in what those rates are, which are justified based on the market. But in a time when we're seeing rapid growth on the spending, you're seeing the legislature increase up to 6%. What that is, it will be a significant challenge without looking at eligibility to reduce that by $177.5 million.
Correct.
And so we have this hard challenge where, the foster care work, those group homes demand fair payments, and we've talked about fair payments, right, on those pieces. But there's just not gonna add up to what you said. And at the end of the presentation, I think this board, who we've taken more of a legislative lead on things, I think this is something that will justify a priority from Clay County on what we legislatively push.
Thank you for that. So the budgeting on this, it is difficult. This is kind of the explanation we got makes it particularly challenging. So even though we know the cost share is scheduled to begin July 1st, 2027, we don't know the exact amount. The final cost is going to depend on a lot of different moving pieces. It's how many people are going to be in those 4 types of residential placements at the time, the level of services that they need, as the chair said, the waiver rates themselves, the total state spending, and of course, whether the legislature or CMS takes any actions before that July 1st, 27 date. So this isn't just a fixed dollar amount that we can plug into the budget. It really is a best educated guess in terms of what this cost is going to be. So for that number, I just wanted to provide that context. It's just a planned estimate, not necessarily a final cost. So best information that we have right now, our estimated cost is between $505,000 and $543,000 for 6 months, the second half of 2027. But beginning in 2028, if that cost share goes into effect for a full year, with the projected inflation in that, we're looking at, again, approximately a $1.3 to $1.4 million or more, again, depending on what's done with waiver rates and the cost of those placements, depending on all of those moving pieces. If I'm trying to find a silver lining, the state is taking action on what they can control without federal level approval. So effective April 1st of this year, the state moved to a tiered rate payment system for FRSs, or the adult foster homes. Basically, all new ones we're getting on this tiered rate, and it will roll out to all FRS settings by April 1 of 2027. The intent of that change is, again, to bend that cost curve down to realize $177.5 million in savings. Since FRSs is one of the 4 residential service areas included in this cost share, hopefully that action will stabilize or hopefully reduce the cost of at least one of the 4 settings. Again, these are planning estimates, not final numbers. The actual cost is going to depend on those metrics that I referenced. Again, the key issue for us that I see is that the way that the legislation exists right now is this is required on July 1 of 2027. Unless the legislature changes in the next session, I'll continue to monitor, obviously, any legislation that comes forward, the work of the LTSS Advisory Council, and if we get any approval from the federal level, and update this board as I get new information or it becomes available. But, I mean, with that, I would yield for any questions that you might have.
Commissioner Krabbenhoft.
Because things are so legislative here, I mean, are our local folks, representatives, they're aware of this?
I believe on the LTSS Advisory Council, there are members of the disability community present, as well as advocacy groups. In terms of the messaging that's gone out from that, I don't know how well it's been.
So as
I
we
think the question, though, was, if I might, your question was, are
I'm
our
asking for
electeds,
Senator Kupak, Joy, and Healy.
Are they, I'm sorry, was the
Are
question?
they aware of this big bump coming?
I believe so. In the 2025 legislature,
Right.
I mean, that was a part of the governor's budget and the budget that was
Okay. Okay.
approved.
Just
Madam Chair, we did have the opportunity to talk with Senator Kupek on several issues last week, and this was one of the issues that we did bring forward.
when we look at the SNAP admin piece and this piece and a couple others that are substantial levy increases, I think this board has no choice but to continue to advocate at a louder level. But my question comes more of what are our colleagues throughout, your other directors throughout the state, what are they talking about? How could we realize some savings? Are there any internal mechanisms that we could utilize to bring this piece down? Because I'll say, we've had luck advocating for things at the legislature, but I don't know if they care. We've told them what the increases will be, and unfortunately, they don't have any money, and so it's the easy thing to do is to push it to the counties for the counties to figure out. And we operate as an extension of the state, so we have to do these things, but what can we do? What can we do?
We haven't even talked about out-of-home placement.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
we counties are trying to say, okay, this isn't our program, we're administering your program, but we are going to have to cut, unless Clay County wants to see double-digit increases in levies, which I know none of us do, and our community has said, there's no way we want to do this. What can we do? And that's not on you so much as on us, but something's got to give.
We have had at least preliminary discussions, like regionally with directors. Some of them are, I'm gonna say, rolling the dice or kind of budgeting less than what the total amounts are in hopes that we will get some legislative action. I am also concerned, given the overall state budget situation, that there just isn't money to pull from to fill some of these holes. So I do believe, at least what I'm presenting with my budget, is that we do need to account for the total amount of these costs, because I just don't know that we're gonna get that support at the state level. So my takeaway is the majority of social service expenditures is salary. So usually what we're able to do in terms of helping impact that levy is reduce services, increase wait times, or look at staffing. And again, I don't want to do that. That's not our primary function at social services, but that's typically the levers that we have to.
But some of the problem with the increase in the wait times is that's only going to burn us on the error rate components in other areas too. I mean, that's the challenge that we're going to have. And I think from the advocacy component, with the number I heard was 50% of the legislature will be new next year. And so how are we, now that you're dialing in on what these numbers are, how are we outreaching to people that are running for positions, not just Clay County, this district area, but I think regionally we need to, and this is a priority that we need to talk about at AMC at fall policy. Yes, Commissioner Barry.
What number are you gonna plug into your,
From transparency standpoint, probably 505,000. I think that's the most conservative to not over project, but also not under project. I think that 505,000 in that range that we said is probably the most responsible one based on what we know right now. I am concerned, as Madam Chair said, about the increase in the waiver rates and what that could look like when we get to 2027, what that looks like, and to 2028. So I think that's probably the best happy medium, if that makes sense.
yep.
Madam Chair, and Quinn, I know we'll talk more about this when you do your budget presentation, but to Commissioner Bear's question in rolling the dice a little bit, we are, at this point, you're anticipating rolling the dice on the act, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so from a budgeting standpoint, again, we'll talk more about that moving forward, but the African-American,
Family
the math,
Welfare
yeah.
Preservation Act.
Our child protection, I mean, again, we'll get into more detail when I present my budget, but our child protection staff are incredibly good at what they do, and I think we're able to absorb some of those responsibilities, or at least that's what I'm gonna be presenting, in a way to hopefully not have to increase any expenditures there, because I know all of these other things are impacting us too.
Any other comments? Thank you for continuing to dial this in. We appreciate you keeping us up to date.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quinn.
Item 10 today is a request approval to fill the auditor treasurer position due to retirement and approved position PDQ. Steve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a sort of a sad day, a day I've had this year I've had on my calendar for several years. After nearly 39 years, Lori Johnson has made the determination that it's time to retire. And she is going to be, her last day of work is going to be November 25th of this year, with her final day of employment at December 18th, 2026. And so, as you certainly well know, she comes with a variety of different responsibilities, along with all of the years of experience that she has. And so we've been having ongoing conversations, both in human resources and also at the PIC level, for several months. Given the importance of her role, we did work with David Drowns and Associate, and we had the PDQ updated. Lori's also had impact and feedback into that, along with HR. We've had discussions, again, as I mentioned, at the PIC level. We are again concerned with that level of institutional knowledge that's going to be leaving us, and the challenges not only with the Auditor Treasurer's Office, but elections, and also her oversight of the DMV, of looking for the correct transition period, so some of that information can be passed along. And so There's two things here before you today. Really, first, as was mentioned, to seek approval to refill the position. We have a timeline that again is tentative of looking at the process. Again, our PIC's expectation would be is that we would like to have the full board as part of the selection process. As I've shared in the past, this is one of the tougher jobs in the state of Minnesota to fill, government accounting that has all the necessary qualifications. And so we wanted to start this process early, so should we not be able to find the right candidate in maybe the first application, that we would still have time to run a second ad and also provide an overlap with Ms. Johnson. And so, as you can see, we are here today at board action. We're looking to get the position posted, assuming the board makes a decision to do so today. And we'll look at first review of applications at the end of August. We will also then have set up interviews in the middle of September, and then selection of the board. Where some of the tentative piece came in, if we do have a situation where we have a group of very good candidates, qualified candidates, we may look at that posted position moving a little bit more quickly. Right now, we're looking at roughly a 6-week overlap for the new auditor treasurer and Lori. The benefit that this year is that does provide them the opportunity to be part of an election process, the budget process, and then ultimately, I guess, truth and taxation. So the second portion of the request today, again, then would be to motion to approve the draft auditor treasurer position that is attached, and as I mentioned, has been reviewed by David Drowns and Associates, Lori, and also Human Resources. As you can see, there are, as part of that, David Drowns and Associate, when the auditor treasurer position went from an elected to appointed, Lori was placed on a separate grid, and our goal is to have that position be brought back onto the county grid. And so in the discussion that we had in PIC, after reviewing the feedback from David Drowns and Associates, the recommendation before you is to place this position on the grade 28. And so as you can see down in the cost impacts, I do have the grade 28 range there for both for 26 and 27. You also have a wage calculator in the back of this your packet that shares that same information of what that breakdown would be. Again, we do not know where the candidate would lie from an experience standpoint, but wanted to provide you with the range as we move forward with this decision. And I believe with that, I would yield for any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Commissioner Bear?
For just a little bit of history, when did we go from this not being an elected position? How long has it been?
I can't remember the exact year, but it was when Brian Berg was still here, so it's been quite a while. Maybe
6 years?
Probably.
No, I've been here 12 years and it's not.
Yeah, I want to say
Probably like 2015 or
15 or 20 years. We can get that answer from him. Any
Just
additional
curious.
question on that? Board discussion?
Looks like a good plan laid out here to,
Well, I reluctantly even want to address this. I think it goes without saying that Lori's led that department really well, and her work, particularly with the integrity of our elections, has been phenomenal, and how she works with the cities and our townships and all of the different polling places. So I'm appreciative that she's willing to stay on past the election of this fall as we make sure we have some normalcy and continuance there. This was an item that we talked about at the PIC committee last week, and and certainly felt that having the information before you to kind of decipher not only the timeline, but making sure that we place it back on the grid, we felt was important. Commissioner, did you have anything else to add from that discussion? Commissioner Ebinger?
Yes. Steve, are we letting Drone and Associates do the hiring process, or is our internal HR going to be a function of this?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ebinger, we're planning to handle the applications.
Okay. Is there any, I'm sure there's statewide resources we can use to advertise this. Are we looking at possibly a national search?
That would be up to this board. I think that from what we talked about in the PIC, we would utilize the normal state and local advertisements that we've done.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell?
I certainly think it's the intention that the final interview process will be the full board. We'll be doing the interviews of the, and I don't know to what level we want to have that dwindled down, for example, based on number of applicants, but I don't think it's necessary to be doing a national search on this. But in terms of the two motions that you're asking for here, would there be a third one to establish the grade? Or is that, do you want that included in the PDQ?
I would have that included within the PDQ if the board wished to do it that way.
Madam Chair, I would move approval of the rehiring of the auditor treasurer position due to retirement to include overlap.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Campbell and a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Madam Chair, I'd also move to approve the draft PDQ for the auditor treasurer position and establish a grid with that position being on grade, through our current grid at grade 28.
I will also say it.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Campbell and a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Item 11 today is our unfinished business. Item A, the Clay County Board of Commissioners will consider modification to the University of Minnesota Extension contract staffing levels. This is, we need to take this from the table.
I make a motion that we take this from the table and continue our discussion.
Okay, we have a motion offered from Commissioner Krabenoff and a second from Commissioner Bear to take from the table. Any for, no discuss, it's not discussionable. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'm hopeful my club leader would have been okay with my Robert's Rules of Order there, but, okay, so we do have Cecilia Amadou with us today and Carrie Robidoux as well. Thank you both for coming back and also providing the information for us to continue this dialogue, particularly appreciative after a phenomenal Clay County fair. Who wants to take it?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you recall, this past week, there was the discussion about the potential addendum to our current contract due to an opening that currently is within the Extension Office, and with the challenging budget that we have ahead, rather than potentially hire someone and then look to maybe have to adjust it later to have that discussion now. We had several questions from the commission that we were looking for additional information on. Again, because of the timing of the fair last week, Cecilia was unable to bring that back while we were still in session. And so we had the opportunity to put that tabled to talk about it today. And so you each received a handout of the paperwork from Extension that's provided the additional information that you've asked for as far as numbers and usage. There's also within that packet a potential adjustment to 0.8. Again, the board would have to make the decision if that's what they would wish to do. But you do have that additional information, and I'll turn it over to extension, they may have some additional comments.
Make sure your microphone is green.
Hit the, yep, there you go. Yep.
Perfect.
I will say again, thank you. I really appreciate you tabling this conversation so that I could join my colleague to continue that conversation and answer any questions that you might have today. If I may take a moment of introductions, my name is Carrie Robidoux. I am the Northwest 4-H Program Leader. I am a resident of Clay County, and I am also a Clay County 4-H alumni. And as I understand, a number of you have connections to the 4-H Youth Development Program. I heard you reference a couple of my colleagues last week, so I just need to take a moment to say, you know, I was in 9th grade when Brenda Schaefer joined Clay County 4-H, and later I worked for her, and she was a great mentor to me. I continue to work with Becky Harrington, and so I appreciate that longevity of commitment and all of us looking at that tradition of 4-H youth development in Clay County and being able to talk about it with you today. At this time, I think what we'll do is take a look at that handout. If you would reference that. What I would draw your attention to first is you see at the top that 4-H youth development and our youth that participate in 4-H youth development programs are beyond ready. And as we talk about that, we know from longitudinal studies that young people who participate in 4-H youth development programs are ready for work, ready for life. On a national level, 4-H youth development is making great efforts to continue to grow and expand the number of young people who are working in the, or who are a part of the program. The traditional ways that we bring young people into the program continue, but we're also looking at new ways that we are able to engage even more young people. So in Minnesota, we're taking that in great strides as well, and in Clay County. And so knowing that young people who participate in the 4-H youth development, they're 2 times more likely to be a leader, 3 times more likely to participate in community service. They're more likely to report that they're living life with intentionality and purpose. That comes from the experiences that 4-H offers young people and those opportunities for project learning, for both successes and failures, and for them to be able to have those leadership opportunities from the time they start in a 4-H program. So as you can see, I am excited about the 4-H Youth Development Program, and I could go on about that for a while, but let's jump down to the numbers, if you will. One of the questions that was asked last week is to look at the last 10 years of data. And so what I have provided here for you is our total 4-H youth during those years, our total 4-H volunteers, as volunteer systems management is a critical component of something that all of our extension educators do, because if we only had staff working with young people, we would reach this number of people. But because of our volunteer systems and 4-H youth development and the training and onboarding, screening that we do for risk and safety for those adults working with young people, we're able to reach so many more. So that total number of volunteers is a really important number to see that that has grown as well. And then we did look back at past MOAs to put in that staffing FTE. Now, didn't go into the details of where we might have had some staffing transition, where there might have been a year of some gap there. I mean, we could fill that in if we wanted to dig deeper into the numbers, but I hope that that helps give an idea of where we're headed. I will explain too that bottom line, 25, 26, we're not done yet. We don't have all of the numbers in from the site agreements that we've had where we're doing 4-H youth development programs at sites as of ending this spring, and we don't have summer numbers in there for programming yet either. So I wanted to put that in there still. I didn't want to leave out the 25-26 year, but certainly you can see the growth trends from there. I'll pause for a moment and see if you have any questions or if this data gives you what you were looking for there.
Carrie, in regards to the 2025-26 piece, that number is not unlike what we would see in other years at this time, because we've not finalized those. That's a typical number that we would see until we finish the end of the year with that.
Right, right. It's where I'd expect it to be now. Yeah.
Commissioner Bear?
Madam Chair, one question, one comment, actually. Thank you so much for getting these numbers. This is what I asked for last week. I appreciate you getting these to me. I very much appreciate that.
I know you'll talk about the after-school piece later on in the presentation, but one of the questions that had come out is how has the program grown or ebbed and flowed throughout the past 10 years? And I've had the fortune of being on that committee throughout that time, and there have been some challenges and changes in regards to how we staffed it and trying to get back to see what if we were intentional about staffing the office post-COVID, where I think we saw a dip in the programming, what would that do? And if I were to take 24-25, for example, there's a jump from 687 to 811 in that full year of programming with 2.0. That is more than a class and a half of graduating seniors at Moorhead High. And so to have two professionals working with that demographic is quite substantial from my perspective. Any questions? Okay, moving on.
All right, so when you flip, I think you're on a two-sided piece of paper, so when you flip that over, as we talk about growth and impacts, here, I've laid out 3 ways that young people are engaged in the 4-H Youth Development Program in Clay County at this point. We have our 4-H Community Club program. We have community clubs scattered throughout Clay County, and 11 of them at this time. I gave a little description. If you aren't familiar with a community club, this is typically a community-based group of families, young people, adults, not always parents, it's guardians, it's grandparents, who are gathering together to have meetings of sorts that always include business meetings, project learning. It can involve community service projects. Whatever that group decides they want to learn, what their interests are, and how they want to move forward. We also have 4-H after-school programs, and over the last school year, we were in Moorhead at multiple sites, DGF, Hawley, and Barnesville. And then we also have our site-based 4-H programs. And this is, so, as you kind of look through that, we have that community-based option. We go to schools and engage with kids right as they're leaving their classroom, and they stay for an after-school program. And then we have site-based programs where we go to where they have adults working with young people. We partner with them, provide them with curriculum and that positive youth development approach to work with young people through experiential learning opportunities, and they have 4-H at those sites. And currently, we are at New Roots Midwest, the New American Development Agency, Barazala Africa, and YMCA Moorhead. So those are examples of ways that many people are familiar with that community club approach, but it's important to understand that we have multiple ways that we're engaging young people in 4-H. I'll add then at the bottom, where are we going from here? I think I mentioned at the beginning, if 4-H always stayed exactly the same, we would engage exactly the same way, right? So we want to continue that because we have a great tradition and history through our community club programs, our after-school programs, but how else can we reach more young people? One of the strategies that we are looking at is engaging and partnering with our local schools to go into the classrooms where perhaps they have had to discontinue programming that our school districts used to do. And we're able to bring in that learning experience during the school day and offer that experiential learning type opportunity. And then those young people are learning about 4-H, they're having that 4-H experience, and then we say, hey, we also have after-school programs, we have community clubs, we have summer programs that you can engage in. Just opening up so that more and more young people are learning about what 4-H youth development is. So that is a strategy that we have been working towards in some of the other counties that I am supervising and across the state, and that is a future potential, and I think something that we will be doing here in Clay County as well. I also put as another example our homeschool organizations are another natural fit for us. There are so many things that the goals of homeschool parents and what we're able to offer through our programming really align nicely together. And where we are partnering with homeschool groups, we've had great successes. So as I look to the future for Clay County, those are some things that I see. To do that, we need staff, and I think that's what I'm here to answer any questions, give you any information that you need. Of course, I am on that side of supporting, and I want to see that staff in place. Where we have staff in place, we are doing programming, we're supporting volunteers, we're supporting the existing program, but continue to grow.
Questions from the board? I might also highlight, just so the board can, as you decipher, it was probably 2 years ago, Carrie, where we met at the main line with the County Fair Board, and there was some pointed concerns about the partnership between extension staff and the Fair Board and how we continue to support each other moving forward, and where the Fair Board felt there were certain gaps in areas that extension had previously kind of covered. And I brought that back to this board, and this board supported that and brought it back to a 2.0. And fresh off a county fair that just ended on Sunday, I was deliberate to make sure and talk to Fair Board members and other leaders in program areas. And I'm happy to report that they were really pleased with the presence of extension, particularly at the check-in day that is a high stress, high craziness day, but to have it staffed in such a great capacity, and particularly the animal shows where there's a lot of overlap with 4-H and extension, or 4-H and FFA and the Fair Board. It really went seamlessly so as to make sure that our young people had the best experience possible. And so I just want to thank you both for hearing those concerns from them and making sure we address that. I'm hopeful in whatever this board deciphers that we can continue to make sure we're addressing those needs, because that really is a large part of having the Clay County Fair as successful as it has been. Questions? So just to recap, we currently are under the MOU. We do have an MOU that will end in 2027. We are under the Extension Committee at the state is just now creating a subcommittee that will work on negotiating what the next MOU will be. This board has an option of approving the rehire of the position as the MOU stands, or making an addendum to the MOU to tweak if we felt like that was appropriate. We need to advertise based on the university's timetable, which is why there's been a little bit of a hiccup there. We can only hire during that, but because it's been a longer amount, there will be a savings to what Clay County will see on the 2026 price, because that's been open for a while, correct? So if this board were to entertain reducing one of the extension educators in the youth development area, that would result in approximately
21,000.
Yeah, approximately 21,000 for 2027. However, there has been, because it's been open May, June, and likely all of July, there will be 3 months of savings potentially in that. So effectively, what we're talking about is a savings or an increase that we've already seen a savings roughly. Commissioner Krabbenhoft.
Excuse me. Thank you for answering the questions. I guess I want to repeat, kind of go back to last week. As we had our last Extension Committee meeting, it was at that time Commissioner Mojo and I brought this up to you about the budget strains that we're having to face in the coming year. And we talked about and wanted to bring forward moving this position as it gets, we look for it to be refilled, to bring it to 0.8 rather than the 0.1. And we thought we could work.
1 point, not 0.1.
Oh, excuse me, okay, a full-time. And instead you had a 0.8. And so we talked about that. I think at this point I'd like to make a motion, and we can discuss that as a board, but I'd like to make a motion to the MOU agreement that we fill this this employee educator, extension educator to a 0.8.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion offered from Commissioner Krabnoft, a second from Commissioner Ebinger to reduce, to amend the agreement with the MOU between the University of Minnesota and Clay County for that. Discussion? Any, Commissioner Ebinger?
Just restate what we discussed last week. We have two pretty capable people who have a portfolio assignment on the extension. And having heard from them, I think, I'm grateful you're coming in with a reduction. As we just had another example from Quinn, it's going to be a tight year. But we can't start destroying partnerships and relationships and functions that we've had for decades in this commission. We are facing a challenging time, but we certainly aren't going to surrender by mass reductions in things that benefit our county and that our citizens expect. And 4-H is one of those things. I understand, I appreciate that these are lean times and it may be a couple of rough years in budgeting, but this is a measured response. It certainly makes sense to me, but I don't have the knowledge of the extension or 4-H that our two commissioners that serve on that board do. And if it's seen as a reasonable reduction and something that won't damage the partnership or the things that we provide to our county residents, I'm going to be supportive of it.
Any further discussion? Well, I talked earlier about the highway department and the amount of construction projects that we've added based on the community input that we've heard, making sure we're addressing what our community wants. And I have not talked to anyone that supports cutting this to 0.8. My community, the residents that are investing in what they feel as the holistic programming that their grandparents have supported, that they've worked hard to continue to support, that they've seen savings with their school districts. This is a way that our school districts are able to see savings. And I know you just highlighted 4, but my understanding is all 5 of the school districts have had the after-school programming. Yes, there are challenging times, and I have put forward a 0.8, but because we are trying to see challenging times, but nobody wants this. And so the challenge for us is, do we cut locally wanted things because we're getting mandated for things that are really challenging? And that's a really hard decision that this whole board has to experience. But I spent the entire county fair at the county fair. Our family checked in and camped Thursday until Sunday when it was 100 degrees. And when you see 100 children at 7 o'clock in the morning washing animals, feeding animals, being driven to do really great things, that's not something I'm willing to cut. And so I appreciate and I pushed forward, but I'm willing to push this forward as a full-time and allow this to see what we can maybe see some savings in negotiation of an MOU. Additional comments? Any additional comments? We have a motion on the table. Sarah, will you do a roll call?
Commissioner Ebinger? Commissioner Krabenhoft?
Aye.
Commissioner Mojo?
No.
Commissioner Campbell?
Aye.
Commissioner Bear?
Aye.
So we have an amendment to the contract. Thank you so much for providing the information. And Cecilia, you will work with the chair of the extension committee to sign that agreement and push that forward. And then as soon as that's done, the timetable will then carry, you'll have the ability to do.
Yeah, our next hiring round isn't until the end of August, but we're working towards a special hiring round for Clay County, so we can get it posted as soon as possible.
Okay. Great. All right. So then the next item is to take off the table the other component. Did we do both? Did we do both?
We did not specify, we just specified the first item.
Okay. So we'll need a motion to take from the table the extension budget presentation for 2027.
I would move to do so.
Okay, we have a motion offered from Commissioner Krabanoff to do so.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Bear. It had to be Commissioner Bear. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, Commissioners, you do have, you received a handout today with two separate budgets. I believe that the budget that we'll be discussing based on your action is the first of the two. If you look at regular salaries, the 6105, it would be the 355430 document.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize that that number includes our office admin position as well. So all the staff in the office is included in that line item. And then just want to highlight the area that's talking about the marketing. We had a few things in the office that are running out, and we want to make sure that we're sharing our story with our community, having a little trinket. So we're increasing the marketing line to $1,000 to account for that. Otherwise, everything is pretty standard and accounting for just office supplies and per diem for our CEC meetings and some of that insurance fees that comes with our commissioners on the board. So.
Okay.
And I just want to highlight that we have some great donors that have been continuously supporting by giving us a $10,000 donation that is included on the top line item there. So that's continuing to come in, and we're grateful for that partnership to that Grandin Farms. So that brings our total to $393,665 as a total budget for the 2027.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last, what was the number?
$393,665,000.
That was before the amendment though, right?
Madam Chair, that's after
Okay.
the second, yeah.
Correct, Madam Chair.
Got it. Yeah. All right, is there any additional items you want to highlight on the budget or any questions from the board? Thank you. I do want to appreciate you for continuing to keep the office supplies component in the printing and publishing. That was a really important piece for general operations of the office. So I think that is, and it's in there, and I continue to thank you for keeping it in there. Anything else, Commissioner? Board? All right.
We just want to thank you for your continued support. We understand some of the challenges that are coming down, but as you know, the numbers are speaking for itself, and we just really appreciate the continued partnership.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you both for being here, and make sure you thank your staff for the excellent work the last week,
Absolutely will.
especially. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, item 12 today is our committee reports. Commissioner Ebinger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last Wednesday, the 8th, I was virtually participated in the Northwest Emergency Communication Board meeting. Just general business took place. It was fairly, for that committee, it was fairly brief meeting. We did discuss the group had our previous meeting had been at the Red River Regional Dispatch Center. And there were a lot of compliments and very impressed with the facility that we've got here. Also an IPOD appointment, Richard Groves as our alternate. And other than committee reports, that was the entire meeting. On Friday the 10th, along with all of our commissioners, I was at the Clay County Government Day, Clay County Fair. Very impressive, very warm, but we enjoyed it. It was a good opportunity to meet some of our constituents and support what Clay County's doing to them. And there was a pretty good reaction from some of the fair board that came by too.
Yeah.
So I was happy with that. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Ebinger and Commissioner Krabbenhoft.
On Thursday, July 9th, I was at the Clay SWC monthly board meeting. We went through regular voting business and just want to make comment that there were a couple cover crop plantings that were being requesting assistance. There was one well sealing. We don't do many of those anymore, but we gave that cost share up for one, and then a contract assistance for another cover crop. Throughout our other discussion items, we had our updates. I think Ezra was there. If you have any comments on those, Ezra, you can. I wanted to, maybe that's all I'll really say. Ezra, you can fill in if you like. On the 9th, I was part of the Clay County Government Day with the rest of you. I too enjoyed that time at the fair. Gotten really comfortable being as a group, and I was really impressed this year how our group continues to grow. The way we had that all laid out with our roughly 8 tables of people there. I mean, it's gathering more attention for people to come visit with us, and I think it's so important to be showing ourselves at the fair. On Sunday, I was back there for most of Sunday afternoon through the Historical Society. I sat for a couple hours in the Humboldt Schoolhouse. Always enjoy doing that. It had air conditioning, and so people would drop by on that. But it's fun to see the history, and I'm old enough to remember the little country school that was as the crow flies, about a half mile away. And that was on the very south end of Moorhead Township, called Clearview School. Many of these schools, especially to the north, closed in 1958 when the referendum in Moorhead came to place, and we ended up with Sabin School, Georgetown, and North and South Junior High. So they did go on for a long time, as well as the Humboldt School was 1958 when it's closed, but it did start in 1918. So anyway, it's always fun to be in that building. And then the other part I was able to be a part of and honored to help out for Extension with was being part of the award ceremony, and that was on Sunday at 3 o'clock. We had Outstanding Farm Family of the Year, which is the Ryan and Michael Haug Farms in Barnesville. We also had the Outstanding Farm Leaders, which was Brad and Commissioner Ginny Moe and family. So congratulations to you, and appreciate all the work that your family is involved with throughout the county, and you bring just a strong asset to our county. Your whole family does. So, and then we had the Indy Issue Harvest Bowl agriculturalist. That was the Harmon Tandy family. There were 3 that were honored in the Hall of Fame. They'd been all past board members to the fair. Melissa Thune, Lois Simmerud, thank you, and then Clarice Smith. And many of you might remember Clarice. She was a long-term person on the County Planning Commission and a good friend of mine from the Sabin area. So that's about the fair. On Monday, I was earlier in the day, I did take in the AMC Lunch and Learn, and it was about the state of had to do with demographics. And I am going to get more specific ones for Clay County, but Kelly actually presented the State of Rural 2020, State of Rural Minnesota 2026. And just a couple of things I'll make note of, that Clay County generally, and there was never anything on the negative side, but when it came to migration change, when it came to natural change, meaning deaths versus births, we are growing. Our migration changes, domestic and international, are also growing into our rural areas. As a community, we're there's more BIPOC up throughout the state and larger in Clay County. Cost of housing goes up, and the pressures are there, but we're considering our wage, the wages that we have in our county, that differentiation between costs and wage growth is less. So those are all fantastic trends that we have in Clay County. We have a low unemployment rate. And then we were one of the higher, which is important to me, of our citizens. We have one of the highest participating labor forces in the state. All very, very good assets that we have here. Last evening, I was part of the Buffalo Red Watershed District. Most of the meeting was really under citizens to be heard. Went for quite a while. We did have a report from our new Bowser conservation person for the Buffalo Red. Her name's Mariah Roofer. She's stationed out of Detroit Lakes. We also had they discussed, because of the last couple of hearings that they have had at the Buffalo Red, they got very controversial, they got off track, they did not feel well. Some of their last decision, felt they were sort of bullied, to use their words, out of making a decision that they'd really supported prior, trying to listen to the community, but the tactics were very disingenuous, non-respectful, and just was not controlled well. So they were looking to revise their rules of order, not only for their board meetings, but also for their public hearings. Right after that, we did have a presentation by Apex Engineering Group, and they're the people that are doing the engineering for storm sewer as the Highway 10 project that goes through Dilworth, goes through town. There's 4 parts of it, from starting on the west side going to the east, that they've figured out how to handle their storm sewer and then have treatment for it. The big part, why the Buffalo Red, on the south side of town, on just the north side of the tracks, is ditch 41. And that's where the water is as they're working it now. Well, if you think of Highway 10 and the stormwater that comes off anything from Highway 10 south will end up going toward a retention pond to be retreated just north of the tracks. Then after that treatment, it'll flow into number 41, which is that County Road ditch. No, I got to back up here. Yeah, County Ditch 41 will run to the west over to 34th Street. Then we run into Ditch 50, and that'll run it north out of town. So that is a big plan, and it really is having to redesign how they handle their storm sewer systems throughout Dilworth. And one more thing here I wanted to talk about. I think, yeah, they approved 1 drain tile. So, yeah, those were they had their audit, and everything was received with no concerns, and they call it an unmodified opinion, which means it was a clean report. That's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krabnoff, Commissioner Campbell.
Okay, July 7th, we had a Personnel Issues Committee meeting. There was a few things that we acted on based on that. The full-time LPN status change, the specialist position to child protection, and an assistant position, or legal assistant position due to a resignation. And we also had some discussion regarding the sheriff's departments with the body-worn cameras. They're looking at maybe changing that technology to a different company, as well as the storage that's involved with that. And that will be, the sheriff's department will be coming before the board in the future with that. And then we also talked about it, and we acted on today, the replacement of Lori's position. On Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week, I had, excuse me, I was in Duluth for the the conference for Lakes Country Service Cooperative. There's 7 cooperatives in the state, and I serve on the board for Lakes Country Service Cooperative. And items of note of that, and that's their annual conference, and items of note in that, we had an Outstanding Service Award for Lakes Country Service Cooperative was given to Phil Jensen, who was the outgoing superintendent of Hawley Schools. That was very nice to see him get that award. And then also there was another, and that was for Lakes Country Service. There was also an award that was given, it's called it's the Barbara Hexum Award, and that's given to one individual throughout all of the 7 cooperatives. And this year's recipient of that, and that's really a prestigious award, was Dr. Lynn Kovash from Warren Public Schools. So that was, it was quite an honor to be there. Dr. Kovash all of her kids were there, and some of the grandkids were there, and it was really a nice thing to see that Lynn got that award. Then I got back and I was able to attend out at the fair for a little while. It was hot. That's my report at the fair. It was hot. You guys all covered the rest of it well. And then yesterday, we had a Highway Tracking Committee meeting. We talked about the CASA 52 projects to close on the 22nd of July. Holy Cross Township, the work is progressing. Comstock Road is now open, and that project is been completed and well done. We talked about the Red River Bridge build grant for $24 million. And one of the significant, I think it's the total bridge project is $25 million, and $24 million of it is going to be in grants, so that's a great deal. However, we talked about probably the biggest well, actually, that one will probably be able to use bridge bonding for the local share on that as well. CASA 11, that one, they received 6 proposals, and KLJ was selected as contractor, and that will be before the board next week. And then we talked about the significance of the right-of-way that's going to be needed for that project going from, basically from 94 to Sabin. So there's going to be a lot of additional right-of-way that's going to need to be acquired, so. And the CASA 9 project is complete. CASA 26 project is scheduled to start in August, and that goes from Highway 75 to the river. And then we had some budget discussions that we talked about today when Justin was here. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last Wednesday, July 8th, I went to the Wild Rice Watershed District where they approved 9 permits and tabled 2 for more discussion at another meeting. They also set their hearing date for their budget and levy will be at their next regular meeting at 9:30. So it'll be their August meeting at 9:30. They'll have their budget and levy hearing. Then that afternoon, myself, Commissioner Mojo, Mr. Larson, and Quinn Jager met with Senator Kupek to discuss the SNAP error rates and the LTSS, which Quinn just gave us an update today on. So we had a discussion with him on that, had a discussion with Senator Kupek on that. And then the next day, July 9th, I went to the West Soil and Water Board, regular board meeting, where Commissioner Krabanoff is also in attendance. And the one thing that I'll add to his report was they discussed the 2027 tree program, where they decided to, instead of having a 75% cost share, they're going to move it to a 50% cost share going forward because they have a lot of people wanting to cost share their trees. So they've changed that. So they'll go 50% cost share, and then also they changed their minimum for planting and matting trees to $350. So you have to spend up to $350, and then it cost share from there for a minimum at least. And then Friday, that's all I'll add on to that. Commissioner Krabanoff gave a good update there. And then on Friday, I was also out at the fair, and I'd like to thank all the staff that were there for the 4 hours. It was warm, but it was still nice. It was met with a lot of people, and it was I love going there for that 4 hours, but I also go to the fair other than that, so I just enjoy being down there around all those people. And then
You want to camp next year?
What's that?
You can camp next year.
Oh, you have room?
The fair board does.
Last night, then I went to the Morgan Township Community Picnic, where I gave them an update on the rural water project. That is all I have for reports.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear. Last week, I also attended the monthly PIC committee meeting that was summarized well by Commissioner Campbell. I attended the meeting with Senator Kupek in regards to the state shifts that we are anticipating, and just talked a little bit about some strategy and how we can continue to discuss that messaging and what we potentially need from him in regards to help advocating that. One item we also did talk with him about that is given the amount of bonding dollars that Clay County received for the non-secure detention component, And given how long it's taking Solutions to get their accreditation, we will need a legislative, ask for a legislative delay on earmarking those PRTF funds. So talk to him about having bill language ready to go for session to get that done. So it really kind of was something we'd wanted to talk to him about, but we did so. Thank you to staff for such a great turnout for the Clay County Government Day. I really appreciate, and it was noticed by a lot of Fair Board members. Grateful for the turnout and also the additional information that was brought out for the fair. You know, I do maintain that that is one of the most important things we as the Clay County can do, is be present at that, as there's just so many people available. So thank you to all of those individuals who came out, and I hope everyone had as much fun as we all did. And as noted, I attended the Clay County Fair, highlighted some of the extension work and committees that Commissioner Krabenoff and I are on for that, but I had the privilege of having a long conversation with the Minnesota Ag Commissioner Tom Peterson, who for a long time we've been trying to get him to the Clay County Fair. Was able to talk to him about some of the trends that we're seeing in Clay County and how we believe the Clay County Fair is one of the strongest fairs throughout the state, but really grateful for him for being there. But I just want to give a shout out to the Fair Board. That is something that they work entirely on all year long. And while it was hot for all of us, we got to early dismiss with animals and projects on Sunday evening, and those folks are staying well into the 90 degrees to make sure it's packed up and ready for the next year. But a huge great gratitude to all of the Fair Board members for the work that they do to put it on. I attended the Highway Tracking Committee, as noted from Commissioner Campbell, and last night was asked to attend the Scree Township meeting. As you recall, there's a potential larger solar project that would go into southern Clay County and parts of Scree Township in coordination with Matt Jacobson at Planning in the township. They identified that having a solar ordinance identified in their ordinance would be really important. So yesterday was their first step to discuss that. We met for almost 3 hours on the language of what that would be. They came out of it creating a planning commission. They'll have a public hearing later on what the potential language would be, but thankful for the opportunity to go out there for that. We'll work with Barnesville Township potentially, but Humboldt Township has already identified that they would like to do something similar. And that concludes my committee reports.
I think, Madam Chair, last Tuesday participated in the PIC meeting. That's been well covered. Also had individual pre-budget meetings with the assessor's office and facilities. On the 8th, we had management. We again, of course, discussed budget, follow-up responsibilities from our intergovernmental retreat earlier this year, and also heard updates from IT and HR. On the 8th, I also met with Brian and went through the attorney's budget, and also met with Dale from the DOC. Appreciate Dale transparency with the budget, working ways to try to limit the impacts of the costs for the Department of Corrections with Clay County. We'll be having a regular budget meeting coming up before it comes before this full board. Worked with James O'Donnell. This board approved him to submit for a stabilization grant, and we worked with the state of Minnesota to get that submitted last week. I also participated in the meeting with Senator Kupek. That's been well covered. On the 9th, I met with Joe and also Kevin and Tony from the Soil and Water in regards to the tree discussion from Commissioner Bear. The location that they store their trees is in limbo a little bit, and they're looking at any potential partnerships that they would have with the county. So we'll have more to come with that at the building committee level. Again, on the 10th, participated in Clay County Government Days. Again, appreciate our staff and commissioners' presence there. Again, talked with James from the Fair Board. Again, all the positive things that have been said, he shared. It's good to see so many people. I think, when we were there on Thursdays several years ago, we didn't have quite as good of an opportunity to talk with citizens. I think that shift to Fridays made a big difference. Yesterday, met with James on the West Central Regional Juvenile Center budget. I know that they have an advisory board this week to talk that through. The highway tracking, that's also been well covered. And then just to update, we have our staff watching, and so March of 2014, the board passed a resolution shifting both the auditor treasurer and the recorder from appointed to elected. That concludes our report. March 2014.
All right, that concludes your report. Mr. Melton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say, too, I had the opportunity to attend the fair as one of the department heads, and it was a very, really good experience. A lot of fun. It was actually pretty cool and comfortable in the beginning part of the day. Definitely heated up a little later, but just want to thank all this board for its support. And then also to the fair board, I think both what Steve said, moving it to a Friday, but also placement where we're at. I think in times past where we were either under the grandstand or in some of the other buildings, not as much traffic, and I think where they've placed us really gave us an opportunity to be out where a lot of traffic and citizens were coming through, and had a lot of opportunity to talk to folks. For my office, personally, we had a Plinko board there that a lot of kids came through and got to win a lot of candy, and/or we had some squish balls. And right after the fair, then I saw a news report that said one of the latest TikTok challenges is where kids are sticking squish balls in the microwave and lighting them on fire. So don't put your squish ball in the microwave. That's, I want to give that little personal announcement. So thank you.
Thank you.
And you also brought Edison.
Yeah, we actually, right, it was a lot of fun too. He did a great job. He did very well out there. Again, pretty warm, but he held up very well. And we got to do a lot of pictures with a lot of kids that came through, and he was obviously a big hit, and so it was great to have him out there as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Darren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Most of mine has been covered already. The PIC meeting, I attended that. Also on Monday, the 7th, July 7th, I had a meeting with Pemberton Law Firm on an ongoing or possible personnel issue that we're going to be probably dealing with. And then I attended the pre-budget meeting for the assessor and facilities. On the 8th, I attended the manager's meeting, pre-budget meeting with the attorney's office. And then also on the 8th, Corey, Brian, the county attorney, Ashley, and myself had a meeting with Grossman and Kelly Law Firm. They are suing some corporations for PFAS contamination. And I think most of it had to deal with drinking water and treatment plants, but they said also that landfills could be included. So we had a little bit of a conversation after that. We didn't think that that would be something that would be pursued for this county at this point. Maybe the city of Moorhead might be interested, but on the 9th, I worked on some data requests that came in. I reviewed a complaint packet in preparation for a personnel matter that's currently developing. Had a meeting with Kimberly on suggesting a new process for recording deeds and mortgages. On the 10th, I worked on improving the citizens' concern form. And I also then ran down to the county fair in Barnesville, and it was hot. On the 13th, I had a meeting with Quinn and his supervisors to discuss some of the Data Practices Act with his crew. I attended the pre-budget meeting with juvenile detention. And then Ann and I had a call with the corrections union business agent on trying to clean up a little bit of the contract interpretation. So that went well. Also, on July 1st, 2026, the IRS updated their standard mileage rate to 76 cents per mile driven. That's up 3.5 cents from the first half of the year. Sometimes they do a mid-year adjustment. So that's in our personnel policy, and basically we follow the IRS guidelines. Anna asked if that had to come back to the full board for that, and I would ask you, is that something that would have to come to the board, or we just make the
My
adjustment?
understanding is the motion that's made is the standard rate.
Yeah, I think that in the past, the verbiage that's been brought forward is to make it that way so it does not have to come back if it were to be changed.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to confirm that. And the last thing is that I think you're already aware that we were granted a $2 million grant for our organic program. So we'll start working with Corey on the particulars of that. He doesn't think that it'll probably go, he's projecting probably the spring of 2027 of getting that up and running. So I think you are all probably aware of that already. The last thing is that after this meeting, I will be going off-grid into the Canadian wilderness somewhere. I will be back hopefully on Monday, and if I'm not back on Monday, please send a search party on Tuesday if I'm not here for the board meeting.
Is that what you're referring to, going to your office? Is that what you call it, the going into?
Yeah, that's also off-grid. So. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we've concluded all items on the agenda. Take note, there are 2 advertised opportunities. Today is that leadership forum and then the chamber legislative recap. But we will be here next Tuesday at 8:30. We are adjourned.